Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm meteorologist Symone Thomas. We like to bring you these weekly updates on Sunday afternoons. If you're not able to tune into our 5:30 or 10 p.m. newscast, this is a little bit longer than the forecast I do in our newscast to be able to get a little bit more in depth about what we're expecting over the week ahead. As always, if you have any questions, this stream goes to THV11 Plus as well as on our YouTube and on our Facebook. So if you happen to be streaming on the THV11 Plus app and you have a question, you can text that in to 501-376-1111. And if you're on the YouTube or the Facebook streams and you have a question, you could just put those in the comments. So we are coming up now on 2:31. I like to give it a second before I fully get started to allow people, if this happens to hit your algorithm on Facebook or YouTube, to hop in to get the information that we're talking about for the week ahead. Again, this is something we do regardless of if we have a weather impact alert or not, just to prepare you for the week ahead. Now, obviously, we have that weather impact alert in effect for yesterday with all of the rain we saw for your Valentine's Day. We did allow that to expire this morning. We got a nice start to the work week ahead, but now that we are getting ready to come up on 2:32, let's go ahead and get started. These are some 48-hour rainfall totals across the state. So 48 hours would go back to Friday at 2:30 p.m. So some of the rain that started moving in Friday night, accounting for all of the rain that fell yesterday, and then anything that fell this morning. This is what we've seen so far. Some nice, healthy rainfall totals. We've definitely needed that, as much as we've been talking about increasing drought conditions. In the capital city, we saw over the past 48 hours around 2 inches and an extra third of an inch. Searcy was our big winner over the weekend, getting over 3 inches, 3 and an extra tenth of an inch. We had a lot of those highest totals again across central most portions of the state. Mount Ida, Hot Springs, some more locations that saw over 2 inches of rain this weekend. El Dorado got close, but was just shy of 2 inches. And then up in northeast Arkansas, Walnut Ridge, Jonesboro, Batesville, some more healthy totals. Now, we actually broke some records for rainfall in North Little Rock and in Little Rock. So the National Weather Service office, as you may or may not know, is in North Little Rock. So anytime you get measurements or observations regardless of temperature or rainfall and it says North Little Rock, that's usually for the National Weather Service office. Now, on this side of the river in Little Rock, Adams Field is where we would take observations that would count for Little Rock. So both the National Weather Service office and Adams Field observation sites recorded some record rainfall for your Valentine's Day. So the North Little Rock office recorded just over 2 1/4 inches of rain yesterday, beating out the previous record. If you can make that out in the small, I'll read it to you. It was set in 2017. The previous record was just over 1 1/10 of an inch. Thank you, Perry, for pulling it up full for the people. And then Little Rock Adams Field recorded a little bit less than the National Weather Service office, but still over 2 inches of rain, beating out the record of right at 2 inches. That was set in 1887. So that was a long-standing record that was beat out yesterday with all of the rain. I hope the rain didn't put too much of a damper on anybody's Valentine's Day plans. I think we came out on the good end with just getting rain compared to some of our neighbors in Louisiana and Mississippi that saw tornadoes last night. So prayers go out to anybody affected in those states that may have saw a tornado. It was just heavy rain for us. As we look ahead to this afternoon, clear conditions across the state. Of course, we still have some cloud cover out there. I'll show you the clouds in a second, but the rain has passed on. If you're out and about this afternoon, I'm sure you noticed going to church this morning definitely was still a little more gloomy and soggy on the roads, but through the afternoon, things have been starting to dry up a bit more. Just taking this a little bit full. The storm system that brought us all of the heavy rain has moved to our south and east now, as you can see, is impacting portions portions of Tennessee and Mississippi, mainly Alabama and Georgia though. As far as the cloud cover I mentioned, we still have clouds out there. Cloud cover lingering across the southeastern half of the state. As that storm system continues to depart to our east, the clouds are going to go with it, and we actually have some high pressure moving in overnight. So that high pressure helps calm wind speeds. It'll also help us lose all of the heat we've accumulated today. Speaking of which, the cloud cover is making a difference, because right now we're 55 degrees in Little Rock compared to Fort Smith, where it's a little sunnier. They're up to 67 right now. Arkadelphia, Hot Springs flirting at right at the 60-degree mark, but starting to see some of those clouds move out of the neighborhood as well. We have about 3 more hours until sunset, so I'm sure once we lose some more of these clouds at Little Rock, I feel like if we don't hit 60, we could get a little bit closer to 60 in the upper 50s. Jonesboro, West Memphis, some places to our east where the clouds are lingering and a little thicker, closer to the 50-degree mark, and then again north and west where you're losing those clouds a little bit earlier. We got some 60s on the board, so definitely above average. What's considered average or our baseline right now is a high of 55 in Little Rock. We're right at average. If we are able to shake some of these clouds within the next 3 hours, this will be considered an above average day, and a lot of our neighbors are seeing that. Now, as we continue overnight, like I mentioned, we've got some high pressure moving in, so that helps push some of the clouds out of here. Wind speeds calm down. Temperatures are looking to fall tonight to the 30s and 40s. Now, 42, you wake up in the capital city, Clinton, just barely above the freezing mark. A cool morning for you. Otherwise though, mostly clear. You see, I mentioned patchy fog developing. Now, even though we have an area of high pressure moving in and that storm system departing, which typically behind the storm system, behind the cold front, you would expect drier air, dew points are still in the 30s or 40s, and with our temperatures in the 30s and 40s, whenever you get that fog develop, that's when your temperature cools right at that dew point for those clouds to form at the surface, or that fog to form at the surface. So even with this relatively drier air than what we had, say, yesterday, there's just enough moisture in the air that some locations could see some fog for your Monday morning. Let's look more at Monday morning, especially the rush hour and what that may mean for travel. I don't right now at this moment see the National Weather Service issuing a dense fog advisory. If that does happen, especially in the morning, you'll probably hear on the morning news a traffic impact alert or a weather impact alert, because especially during the morning rush hour, fog can pose some hazards, you know, with more people getting on the roads in the morning. This is 6 a.m. that we're looking at right now, right as, you know, people are starting to get out and about on the roads, people headed to work and school. Areas of fog developing across some of northern and north central Arkansas. Big swath of this orange with a little bit of the portions of red embedded in that, but visibility in that regard, that's measurements that orange be on alert. Those pockets of red is saying dangerous or very low visibility. Not a whole lot of that in the Little Rock Metro right now, a little bit off to our southwest and west central Arkansas. But let's take this forward to 9 a.m. when we're starting to get maybe past the big hump of rush hour. I think we see rush hour at its peak around 8 a.m. So getting past the big hump of the morning rush hour, still some patchy fog across northern and north central sections of the state. Not a whole lot in Little Rock Metro. A little bit of that blue shaded, which would say reduce visibility or use caution, but again, not enough for a dense fog advisory. Looks like the fog will lift by the time we get to the late morning, middle part of your day. We'll see that starting to lift, and we're actually expecting more sunshine tomorrow afternoon. So today, where we have a hard time making it to the 60s because of the cloud cover, tomorrow with more sunshine, looking to see middle and upper 60s. Again, we got that high pressure in our neighborhood, which is really going to help. But as we get into tomorrow night and into Tuesday, the high pressure starts moving east again towards the southeastern United States. Winds starting to come from the south again as opposed to the north, how they're doing right now. With more moisture starting to increase again, we'll see more clouds Tuesday and Wednesday, but Tuesday and Wednesday are even warmer than Monday because again, winds are coming from the south. So we get more moisture, but we get more warmth as well. So we go from upper 60s on Monday to possibly some lower 70s in the cards for your Tuesday, middle 70s, maybe even some upper 70s for Wednesday. A lot of places on Wednesday may have a chance of flirting with or waving at 80 degrees. We'll be following that, of course, over the next couple of days. But as far as any more rain, we stay dry for the first half of the work week. Rain chances do pick up again, though, once we get into the second half of the work week. Very isolated coverage. I don't expect any of these opportunities for rain at the second half of the week to be what we saw yesterday, but definitely adding a little bit more to the bucket to help with drought conditions. Again, I mentioned earlier, we've been talking a lot lately about drought and what that has been meaning for the state. A lot of burn bans that we've been talking about as well. So the rain right now is very much needed. Hopefully, again, not as much as we saw yesterday. I'm looking right now just to see if anybody has asked any questions so far, and they have not. So let's keep going. Again, then you see we have some light opportunities for rain at the second half of the week. Obviously, getting to Thursday into that Saturday range is between 4 to 6 days out. So we don't have as much high resolution information as we would if this was 2 to 3 days out. So we're going to use one of our long range models to look at what the trends are indicating for the second half of the week. But I want to preface this with saying these are just trends. There's room for things to change, and as it does so, we'll have more updates over the days ahead. But again, this is just giving you a first call on what to expect for your week ahead. We're going to start at Thursday morning. Right now, based off of this particular model run, this came from 6 o'clock this morning when this model run was put together with the data that they get in making these. So 6 a.m. Thursday, dry at the moment, but a few showers you saw through the afternoon, but they're already gone by Thursday evening. So maybe not a whole washout for your Thursday, but a few stray showers possible through the day. Overnight into Friday, things are still dry, of course. Probably cloudy out there, but as far as the rain, we really wouldn't be expecting the next round of rain until Friday night into Saturday, and then a good chunk of your Saturday is rainy, but the rain is really starting to break down again by Sunday. So unfortunately, this does look like a pattern of most of the work week looks nice, maybe some rain for your weekend, but like this weekend, it doesn't look like the whole weekend will be rained out. And next Saturday doesn't look like it'll be nearly as impactful as what we saw yesterday, but still something to put on guard or put an alert if you are making plans for the weekend. Maybe have that umbrella included in those plans. As far as how much rain we're expecting between now and next Sunday, so again, we've got that round Thursday afternoon, maybe some stray showers. Quiet for much of Thursday evening and Friday, but Friday into Saturday and much of Saturday morning and afternoon, this is what we're putting all together for this rainfall outlook. So higher totals expected east of us. You see Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee, what parts of those states is in the screen. You've got those blues over there. That's closer to 3/4 of an inch, this teal blue. Getting into that lighter blue, that's closer to a full inch of rain expected. Back home closer to us, we've got these greens in the picture. So this darker, maybe more tea leaf green that much of the state is included in, this would be rainfall totals or estimates between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. And again, that's over the next week. So 3 rounds that we just talked about together in total could produce up to 1/2 an inch of rain based off of this forecast. A little bit farther to our west, where you have a slightly lighter green, that's 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. So again, out of those rounds, we're not going to get a whole lot of rain with this, but any drop helps. Now, the rain we got yesterday has not been accounted for yet in our drought monitors. Drought monitors, they usually start developing those on Tuesday, and then they get published on Thursday. So this week's drought monitor that'll come out on Thursday will have accounted for all of the rain we received so far this weekend. But what we're expecting between that Thursday, Friday, and then Friday into Saturday won't be accounted for until next week's drought monitor. So right now, this is the one that came out last Thursday. We've been talking about, we've got areas of extreme. So this red that is over a lot of north central Arkansas into central Arkansas and northeastern Arkansas, that's extreme drought. This maroon color or this burgundy color that includes the city of Batesville or Independence County, that is exceptional drought. That is the highest drought level. So we definitely, I think we'll see some improvements once we account for this weekend's total, but it wouldn't hurt to get some more over the days ahead is what I'm emphasizing. Even in the rest of the state, this orange is what we consider severe drought, 3 out of 5 level drought. The tan is moderate drought. So we definitely need to see some benefits to this. Obviously, we are getting into the second half of February. March is right around the corner. March means severe weather season. March and April typically are some of our wettest months of the year. So if by the time we get to the end of this month, we don't completely wipe out the drought, I'm sure we'll have a better chance to do so over the next couple of months. Now, last week, I did have a few people asking for any long range outlooks about the beginning of March. And I said then it was too far out to confidently say anything about March. And it still is right now, but our 8 to 14 day outlook that comes from the Climate Prediction Center now goes through March 1st. So we're getting some hints at least at the trends of what things look like for the end of February going into March. 8 to 14 day outlook would include that time frame between February 23rd and March 1st. So if you hear those dates and you think, I have plans that week or that chunk of time, this is what the trend looks like. Obviously, this doesn't tell us any numbers and any 30% chance of rain or 40% chance of rain. This just compares what looks likely compared to what's our baseline. Now, right now, what we're looking at is temperatures. What is considered our baseline or our normal with temperatures between the 23rd and March 1st is a high in Little Rock of 58 and a low overnight of 37. Most of the state, or pretty much all of the state, is shaded in this orangey red that would indicate above average temperature. The bullseye for this, of course, is over the Texas and Oklahoma panhandle, but we're still in that high chance of seeing above average temperatures. So if our baseline is a high of 58 and a low of 37, above that could be right at 60 degrees, middle 60s, 70s, like what we're seeing over the next couple of days. But again, like I said, this map doesn't tell us numbers. This just tells us the trend compared to normal. Now, on the flip side, thinking about precipitation, well, near average, this gray, where it's neither the green or the tan, will mean near normal. Like I mentioned a second ago, as we start to get into March, things do get a bit rainier. So not saying we absolutely will see rain, but saying there's not much of a chance of it being any less than normal or more than normal. We'll be right around where we should be for this time of year with rainfall. I don't think I see any questions, so we're going to wrap up in a second. I just want to take this back again to talk a little bit more about this evening and planning for what you need to know for the next couple hours. So again, we usually have our newscast at 5:30 and 10 o'clock. If you can't watch any of our newscasts, this helps you prepare for the top of the week. And obviously we have all of our newscasts Monday and the next couple of days to give you more updates over the days ahead. But here again is another check-in of your immediate forecast and what you need to know before we go. Clouds are moving out of here through the rest of the afternoon. I do think before the sun sets, we'll see more sunshine than clouds here in the capital city, but right now it's still more clouds than sunshine. Right at the middle 50s. Some of our neighbors that have already pushed some of the clouds out are in the 60s. I do think through the rest of the evening we could get a few degrees warmer as we push some of those clouds out of here. Whether or not we actually make it to 60 degrees is what is going to be determined by the clouds. But the clouds out of here, I think cloud cover is pretty much gone right as the sun is setting. We'll have clear skies or mostly clear skies through the evening. Wind speed is starting to calm down after midnight because, as I mentioned earlier, we have that high pressure moving in. Calm wind speeds, not too many clouds, but temperatures are still relatively close to those dew points in the 30s or 40s are going to set us up for some areas of patchy fog. I don't think fog will be dense enough and thick enough for a fog advisory, but if you live across portions of northern and north central Arkansas, you may have a foggy start to your Monday, or even some of central and west central Arkansas. I think across the Little Rock Metro it won't be as heavy, but there can be some areas of reduced visibility, especially if you live near some water. I know sometimes when we have foggy mornings, if you're closer to the Arkansas River, you definitely see more of those impacts, but this is through your morning rush hour. Cloud or fog, staying very thick across northern and north central portions of the state, but by the time we get to late morning and afternoon, expecting the fog to lift. So going to take this now to our 7-day, because we're getting to a point now I think we will be able to wrap. So we're going to take this to our 7-day, and again just give you another overview of the week ahead. So that high pressure is moving in this evening, helping push those clouds out of the way. So mostly sunny conditions for your Monday, with temperatures looking to reach the middle and upper 60s. As that high pressure is shifting south and east over the southeastern United States for the middle part of the week, winds are coming from the south again, bringing us some warmer, more moist air. The more moisture in the air helps give us more clouds. Obviously, the warmer air gives us warmer temperatures, so we'll be in the 70s for the middle part of your week. And then as our next kind of storm system cold front approaches, we have some light rain chances for the end of your work week and into the start of the weekend. I definitely think we feel more of the impacts of the cold front associated with that system. Friday into Saturday, we go from the 70s to the middle 60s on Friday, likely having a hard time reaching 60 degrees on Saturday, but the whole weekend doesn't look rainy. Looks like we'll be back to drier conditions next Sunday. Similar story to today. Could start the day with some clouds, and through the afternoon pushing out some of the clouds, likely right around what's considered normal for this time of year in the upper 50s. And as you saw me say a second ago, based off of our long range outlooks, it does look like beyond Sunday we could still see what's considered near to above average, which at that point again is a high right around 57. So above average would likely be some more 60. So likely what looks like happens is we get that cool down, and then we kind of rebound again before our next eventual system comes, weather maker comes and brings us some more rain. So I think all in all, especially after all of the rain we saw yesterday, the week ahead is going to be a pretty nice one, a relatively quiet one. Those chances for rain at the end of the week do just look like rain showers, so not even a concern for thunderstorms, just maybe some times where you may need your umbrella. So I think we're coming to a point now where we can close. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And again, if you can join us either 5:30 or 10 o'clock, we'll be on THV11 on CBS on your TV and THV11 Plus. If you can join us at any of those newscasts, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and a great week ahead. I'll see you soon.